All right, gentlemen, are we ready?
We are ready.
Primed and ready.
Let us proceed. Hello, Internet, and welcome to another episode of Geek Fanthology. I am your host, Neil Portray. I am joined this week by...
The one true Ben.
And...
Mike?
And, Ben, we can hear you a lot better today. What's up with that?
I am broadcasting tonight from an undisclosed location
Aha.
that is closer to actual internet land, as opposed to where I am normally, where our internet consists of smoke signals and Morse code.
Well, you sound better. Hopefully,
Yes.
like, when you move, you'll sound this good all the time.
I always sound this good, you just can't hear me that well. So.
All said.
All right, well, this episode is going up a week before July the 4th, assuming I get my ass in gear and put it up on time. By the way, the most recent episode's delay was because of actual, corruption of the audio file. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. If it does, I apologize.
Game.
What?
It's a plot to a Blizzard game. Everything was fine, but then corruption.
Yes, every Blizzard
There's
game.
a plot for every Blizzard game in the last decade at least.
Corruption!
Yep. So, in light of July the 4th, and the fact that the three of us recording are American, even though we have, I think, at this point, 3 dedicated listeners from Ireland. Hi, Irish people, by the way. Yeah, the way I know this, by the way, is the website actually keeps analytics of the IPs that visit us. So either it's actual Irish people or people who
have a VPN set to Ireland.
Yeah, have a VPN set to Ireland, which is also possible. Also, hello to our many Canadian listeners and one person in France. Hello, or bonjour, I suppose. Sorry for ruining the pronunciation.
Thank you for the naval assistance. It
Indeed.
Was crucial.
Debt of honor to General Lafayette.
Ah, okay. During the Revolutionary War.
At least that's what I assume he's referencing.
Mainly, yes. Just I meant in general.
Right. Yeah. Because America America, for all that we give France crap, we've long had a very good relationship with France.
Well, it was pretty straightforward. It's like, oh, you hate the British? We hate the British. Hey, let's be bros.
Yeah, let's fight. Let's shoot them together. So, and then we became friends. And they said, the French said, "Oh, you Americans, you have this revolutionary idea. We will borrow it. We will use it." And then that kind of got out of control. But yeah. We've long had a very good relationship with France, and after that initial disagreement, with Britain,
even have a decent relationship with them now that the parents have kind of cooled down and gotten a little more hip and groovy.
Right.
We're going to be talking about patriotic movies.
America.
So a lot of war movies because America's
patriotism. Yeah, patriotism equals guns.
Well, it is trite but true. But patriotism for any home country flares most when engaged in armed conflict.
Yeah, it's a correlative thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, it's when you need it the most.
Yeah.
So, because you need people willing to put their lives on the line.
Mm-hmm.
So, peacetime, it's hard to get people to do that. War, people are, it's like, hey, there's something, because it's there, it's tactile, it's right in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but of course, before we do that, we have signal boosts to give, and I will start by signal boosting a thing that I mentioned a while back. If in the last episodes of last season, so last year, we had a situation where we couldn't get together to record, so I talked about 4 movies I had seen recently. One of those movies was a absolutely phenomenal piece in the mystery genre. There's also something of a deconstruction of it. A film called Knives Out.
Which is now on...
It's now on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
You should really freaking see it. It's one of the things where I really want, I want this movie to be successful so that it gets more movies made about it. Like
So, and
I.
the great thing about that movie,
Mhm.
what makes it particularly patriotic in its scope, it's got Captain America in it, and James Bond.
And James Bond. James Bond doing a absolutely fantastic over-the-top Southern dandy accent, I should point out too. Daniel Craig's accent is just a lot of fun in it.
Well, Daniel Craig's actually a really good actor. I mean, we see him first show up, in Tomb Raider,
Yeah.
and he doesn't sound quite like Bond. So
Yeah, no,
Another
he's
really good movie. He's in Defiance. I highly recommend that. It's a great movie.
and another movie that he was in that's a lot of fun, but really couldn't be called good was Cowboys and Aliens.
I enjoyed that
I
movie.
enjoyed the hell out of that movie, but I wouldn't call it a good movie. I would call it an enjoyable movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
it's
heard
an
some like
I
enjoyable movie.
delineate that.
I'll have to check that
Right,
out at some
right.
point. I hear it's like
Yeah,
it's like just under an hour and a half or something, so it's not a lot of commitment,
Yeah,
right.
I
We've
have.
got James Bond and Han Solo.
Yeah, I have a hardcore delineation between movies that I enjoy and would love to watch versus movies that I think are good from like a literary criticism
Artistic,
standpoint.
Right, right.
artsy point of view.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Cowboys and Aliens definitely does not really have much artistic or literary merit, but it's fun.
By the way, that's
It's
what we call
fun
a
to
teaser,
watch.
kids, because there's going to be a lot of movies and media in general that are patriotic, that
Mhm.
are just like rah,
Enjoyable,
good,
but
enjoyable
not
stuff. And
good.
then there's stuff that's,
Mhm.
more on the artistic side, and of course those that straddle both of
Mhm.
those
Right.
categories.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of teasers, shouldn't we be spoiling something?
We're going to get to that in a second. Don't we have other?
Signal
I'm
boosts.
assuming I have.
Yes.
I assume I'm not the only person who's seen a thing that they want people to be aware of this week, or this recording, or whatever the hell.
Yeah. This episode.
This session.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got an
Well.
old school recommendation. When I say old school, I just mean like, it's been a few years.
Mhm.
um, I've got my hands on a Nintendo Switch recently, which was an achievement in and of itself, with them being so popular, with everyone stuck at home with kids and the like. And so it's kind of obvious, especially people that like the franchise, but Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is an extremely good game. And just
Oh,
Nintendo Switch in general is just really friggin' awesome. I love how it's quite literal with the term Switch. Like, you have it in the dock, you're in the home version, the console version, and you just lift it out of there, and it instantly transfers everything into tablet mode. Like, there's no waiting, there's no button to press, thing to do, thing to change. It's just, you just lift it up and you're good to go. It's pretty awesome.
hmm. And you can play it like on your regular TV.
Yeah, yeah. If you get the full version, they have this new thing that came out more recently, which is like $200 called the Switch Lite, but that's like just the mobile version. Like, it doesn't have the dock and stuff, and
Ah,
battery life isn't as good. Unless someone is just like sure that that's pretty much all they're going to be doing is using it on the go or whatever, then I'd recommend getting the traditional one like I did. But yeah, Legend of Zelda, super amazing. It's been a long time since I've played a Zelda game. I think Twilight Princess for the Wii is the last time I did, and that was like the end of 2006. So it's been a while.
right. Almost old enough to drive. So, 14 years.
So yeah, that's my obvious plug. Just Nintendo Switches are awesome. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a must buy, in my humble opinion,
Okay. Well,
as well as
mine.
Smash Brothers, because Smash
Right.
Brothers.
Good. Smash Brothers. Yeah, I think. Speaking of, isn't the Pit Boy Fallout Boy coming to Smash Brothers?
I have not heard, but there is a lot of DLC stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me
Yeah.
if it did.
Right. So, well, my signal boost this week is for actually kind of patriotic in its way. I watch a lot of different YouTube channels, and the two a lot of times I will also watch. So one on CBS All Access, I watch SEAL Team. Love that show because it is a big. It's very pro vet. Going hitting the things that veterans deal with, especially our younger veterans. But also, another thing I watch on YouTube is Kenneth Cram's YouTube channel. He does a lot of videos on bushcrafting, and his is a historical based. So he will oftentimes have like instrumental music from and songs from the 1800s. He has a lot of focus on the post Civil War era. That's like because every historian has their place that they like. He is mostly the late 1800s when you had a lot of Civil War veterans and such, wandering the wild, not so much the Wild West, but down in like Texas and South Texas, which is where he is. So there's a lot of historical accuracy to the things that he does, because he does a lot of stuff that is based on books from folks from that era, and basically primitive camping. So yeah, Kenneth Cram, that's with a K. Kenneth and then Kramm on YouTube if you want to see historical camping.
Different spelling, but cran is also a drug you take in Fallout, isn't it?
It's a Cram is a takeoff of spam. It's a food.
Or is that
It's probably-
Shadowrun? I know there's a fictional drug reference in there somewhere.
Yeah, Cram, I think.
I think I may be thinking of Shadowrun.
Yeah. So
Google Food's good, but I can't. But I'm not sure I'm going to be able to find that.
you what now? Oh, yeah. Hang on a second. I'll see if I can find it. I will use my Google.
Yeah, I'm not finding anything with. I only have so many Boolean operators that I can use. Cram was a foodstuff in Fallout. Ben is right in that regard.
Let's see here, because I found a list of drugs in Shadowrun.
There's a whole metric fuck ton of them.
Right.
We're past the 1.5 minute mark for YouTube, right?
I think so. Cram, yeah, Cram is a drug in Shadowrun.
Well, there you go.
Duly noted.
So well done, Mike. So,
Any other boosting to be had, or do you want to move on to spoiler?
That's pretty much all that I had. Big thing. I mean, aside from that, I've been playing a lot of Persona 5 Royal. I rebought Persona 5 with essentially with an expansion pack when paid full price for it again. Not that I don't think I paid full price when I bought the first one. I think I bought it used, but still, it's really good. I don't regret paying another $60 for that game, even if I had paid $60 for it the first time.
which game is this?
Persona 5.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Persona games are a really interesting mix of high school simulator and dungeon crawling RPG.
Got it.
It's kind of hard to it's pretty hard to explain, honestly, because literally half the game you're just a high school student, you're talking to people, going on dates, etc., and the other half you are getting a mild primer in Gnosticism and and fighting people's conceptual personifications of the devil and God themselves.
High school stuff.
But no, that is one thing that's really interesting about it. Like it really, I guess I am doing a little bit more of a signal boost on it. It is a very light primer on the basic tenets and concepts of Gnosticism. If you're at all familiar with Gnosticism, and if you're not, look it up. It's really fucking complex and complicated and weird, and there are multiple different sects and interpretations of it, and I don't have time.
Fair.
I don't have time in like two of these episodes to get it to scratch really the surface.
Right.
Anyhow, so spoiler of the week, and that is, of course, that dog is a fine meal, and that'll make sense a little bit later in the episode.
All right.
Unless you've seen that movie already.
Right. I don't think I have. What movie? Well,
you definitely have.
I just don't remember that line.
That's fair. We'll get to it.
So where do we want to start?
Well, there are a couple different places we could start.
Okay.
We could start at the beginning we could start at the beginning of America from a filmic and dramatic point of view, i.e., with I'd say with 1776.
Right. Hamilton a close second on that one.
Well, Hamilton actually, like, it's there plus stuff about the other stuff about the Revolutionary War. For those
But
who
I
do not
mean,
know, 1776 was a Broadway musical that was later adapted into film about the Continental Congress and the writing and signing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. Even though actually it was mostly signed on August the 3rd, if I recall correctly.
Details.
It's a very interesting little bit of trivia
Yeah.
because it was ratified on December the 4th, but a lot of the actual signing did not occur until significantly later.
but it all started on July 4th.
Yes, it started on July 4th, but it didn't end for a while.
Right. And meanwhile, the Brits are going, "What's up with the Americans?"
The signed version that
Actually,
you
the
know is
colonies.
famous and exist that people are that you know like is in the archives, etc. Wasn't signed until August the 2nd. I was off by a day. Sorry.
Oh, shame on you.
Yep.
So, interesting thing about this the whole time period,
hmm
it took about 30 days to travel. It took a while. I'm not sure if 30 days was where it was in 1776, but it took a minute to travel across the ocean,
To
which is
cross the
one
pond, quote unquote. Yes.
exactly. So this
Because
is
you were dealing
why,
with sailing vessels. You know, the
right?
the steamship had not yet been invented.
hmm
For that matter, I don't believe the steam engine had yet been invented. When did the Industrial Revolution start? 1800s?
Let's see here.
How long has it been since I took high school world history?
Right. Let's see here. Industrial Revolution, 18th to 19th century. So, Industrial Revolution, we're talking early 1800s, between 17, it was starting in the 1760s, and really took off between like 1820,
The
1840.
steam engine did in fact exist, but the steamship, but it had not yet been adapted
hmm
for the majority of ocean going travel at
Right.
that time.
So yeah, you're talking, ships that can only travel at the speed of wind. So
Which is
yeah,
pretty fast on the ocean, but still.
right. But still, I mean, okay. You're pushing a ship,
Yep.
with that. So yeah, you're looking at, oh God, days, weeks to cross the pond. It's no wonder Benjamin Franklin made that crossing so many times.
Hmm.
Every time he went, he stayed for months. So,
And there are
um,
no reasons why Ben Franklin would want to be away from his wife.
yeah, I'm
If
gonna
you're
leave
not
that one
familiar,
alone.
by the way, Ben Franklin was a randy, horrible womanizer, along with being brilliant.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. He was a polymath. Yeah. So yeah, and yeah, geniuses tend to be unstable to begin with.
Oh,
But
but so 1776. It's a really it's a I mean it's a musical. So if you don't go in for musicals, then you probably won't enjoy it. But it has a very good film adaptation. I've seen a couple times. I used to know the all the lyrics to a really heart-wrenching piece that I want to say is called "Is Anybody There?" Give me a second here. Yes, "Is Anybody There?" Which is this really just heart-wrenchingly destroying, sad song about that is essentially the musical adaptation of a letter written by Washington while at Valley Forge. Um,
God,
and begging for help and reinforcements and hearing nothing. And sung by John Adams, who is the lead character in the play slash movie. Also, "Molasses to Rum" is another very good song.
so these are the lyrics you used to know.
I used to know like I used to have prepared as a vocal audition piece. Is anybody there? Then my voice dropped more through high school, and I can't hit the high notes because I used to be more of a tenor than a baritone to bass.
Hmm, Okay. So yeah, 1776. I've heard good things about it. I need to see it.
I it, it
Is
it's it it is in musical theater, in musical theater circles, it is what one would call a classic.
Well, anybody who's watched a Disney movie in the past 10 years, 20 years,
Mhm.
can't say that they don't like musicals because, dadgum, you know.
Well, there's a difference between a Disney musical and an adapted Broadway musical.
Yeah, one is better.
Speaking
Also,
of Broadway musicals,
there's some that aren't necessarily musicals as well when it comes to Disney movies.
This is true, but still.
speaking of Broadway musicals, Hamilton.
Yeah.
The recording of the original Broadway cast is going to be released on Disney Plus on July 3rd. I don't know why they didn't just have it be on July 4th. I guess because they wanted people to watch it on a Friday. Because that's when people stream movies.
Yeah, I'm sure
Mhm.
there's some math and
There's got to be ratings
involved
math
there.
involved there, but
Also, it gives you
yeah.
a buffer, so if there's some kind of tech stuff, you've got a
There
buffer
is that
there.
as well.
If it's like
Right.
crazy amount
And
of
more people
streaming
are
or
like,
whatever.
more people are likely to be semi-sober on Friday night than they are
That's
Saturday.
true. A lot of people are going to have plans for July the 4th
Yeah,
night.
that's true. Good
Might
point.
not have as many
Yeah.
plans for July the 3rd night. I hadn't thought about that.
There you go.
It's a fantastic telling of most of Hamilton's life. Alexander Hamilton specifically, guy on the $10 bill. He was Secretary of Treasury, I think. Yeah, Secretary of the Treasury under Washington. He was never a president. Got killed by
Like
Aaron
Benjamin
Burr in a
Franklin, on
duel.
currency, but never a president.
Yeah. It's
Him and
funny
Ben
because people
Franklin.
talk about currencies like pictures of dead presidents
And two of the major ones aren't.
and well
That's
yeah
great.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say let's see there's
Okay. Washington and Lincoln and
yeah
Jackson and
there's
Grant.
there's 70 good did you remember Jefferson?
Oh, Jefferson and $2 bill, right?
Yeah, the $2 bill
Easy to
that
forget.
no one remembers, but yeah. And yes, people, $2 bills are still really things.
Well, they're very popular around, I think, the Chinese New Year.
Yeah, due to
Numerology, I think.
I can't remember. I do remember hearing something about that, but yes, the $2 bill is a bill that is still in print and circulation. It's one of it and the one are the only ones still using the old non-big picture design that took over the 5, 10, 20, 50, and hundreds because
It's because
the
nobody
ones and
wants to
twos aren't worth counterfeiting.
Exactly.
They're not worth
Exactly.
counterfeiting. You probably lose money in the offing.
Right.
I use a $2 bill as my violin mute. And yes, I play the violin. And you can use them. You can use a dollar bill as a mute. It works really well. So I use a $2 because I had a $2 bill and I wanted to use it as a mute because it's interesting.
$2 bill also has one of the best back paintings on it. Because it has the Declaration of Independence.
It's the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Oh man, that is a really, really high resolution scan on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It is a great tableau, the signing.
Yeah, it's excellent.
So yeah, it really kind of got redesigned in '76, I think, wasn't it? Or it was discontinued until '76.
It was reprint. It was was reissued into print in 1976. By the way, we're not talking about, but
right,
yeah.
72, right?
Because it was discontinued in '66 and then reissued in '76 for the bicentennial.
Right.
But Hamilton, I think I'm the only person of our group who's watched the bootleg recording. I finally muddled through it. Like, my problem is I recognize it's a bootleg, so it's not going to be very good quality. But the quality of the bootleg is still pretty low. So I'm very, very, very hyped for this for seeing an HD professional, not illegal recording of it.
Right.
Yeah, I've just seen some individual songs and clips, so
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it from beginning to end. It seems amazing.
Yeah, I've listened to the soundtrack. There was a little bit of interesting controversy that sparked up this week about it because it got an official rating from the MPAA, and it's rated PG-13, which if anyone's listened to the soundtrack, they would know that should be impossible. because they say fuck too many times. Specifically, too many times. They had to edit out 2 fucks from the movie because they said it 3 times, and you can only say it once and keep the movie PG-13.
So they had 2 fucks to give.
Yes. Lin-Manuel Miranda literally actually tweeted that. Yeah, I had 2 fucks to give about this movie. And there will be argument, I'm sure, amongst the internet as to which of the fucks they should have kept, because all 3 are pretty precision F strikes. Seeing as I can't remember which one they kept and which one they didn't keep, and the context of all 3, I can't say which. I can't say whether I think they made the right decision. Well, we can report more on that later.
Right. Yeah, I hear that.
But I'm super psyched for that, and because I mean, it's Hamilton. It's it's a ticket you can't when Broadway was still open, you couldn't get tickets for.
Right.
And now you're really never going to be able to get tickets for it again because the Rona has canceled all popular entertainment forever, or at least it really feels like that.
Right. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it because I want to see it. I've heard so much about it.
Yeah. The soundtrack's bloody amazing. I've listened to the soundtrack more than once. And honestly, if you've listened to the soundtrack, you pretty much know the entire plot of the movie too, because it's not like it's very dialogue light. The play is kind of like Les Miserables, actually, in that regard, which is a good French patriotic movie. It's about one of France's many revolutions. That one failed. I think that was the Easter Revolution. No, the Easter Revolution was Ireland. I'm sorry. What is Les Mis about? It is what? Where? Find me the. Yeah, which French Revolution in the 1900s?
That's a great out of context line.
There. When you click 19th century France, it lists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It lists 7 different
revolutions.
Well, not revolutions, but governing bodies / revolutions. Because you got the republics versus the monarchies versus the empires versus the revolutions.
Right, because didn't you have Napoleon in there somewhere?
Well, you had the Second Empire under Napoleon III. You had, and you also had Napoleon I. Yes, you had the French Revolution, the First French Republic, the First French Empire, the Bourbon Restoration, the July Monarchy, the Second Republic.
Those crazy French. It's like and they have a whole. It's like they have a different word for everything.
Was the June Rebellion of 1832. That was what I was trying to find.
The specific rebellion. That specific rebellion
of Les Mis.
Right. Which, again, part of our shared culture with France. We had a revolution. They said, "Yeah, this is a great idea.
We can do that. Let's do it like 5 times."
Right? They were practicing. So what's next? I got one that's that chronologically, cinematically predates 1776 and Hamilton.
Yeah, I don't worry too much about chronology. It's just rattle them off.
Right. Well, Sergeant York was done in 1941, and
so you mean it post dates them?
Well, the movie itself was made in 41.
Well, yeah, but you said it predates, so I would say that it comes before 1776 in Hamilton. You're talking about World War I. That's significantly after.
Historically, right. Well, cinematically, anyways. So yeah, it was. This was
cinematically. Yeah, sure, I'll give you that.
Okay. So yeah, Gary Cooper actually won an Oscar for his portrayal of Sergeant York.
Sergeant Alvin Colum York was one of the most decorated United States Army soldiers of World War I.
Yes, it was.
According to his Wikipedia article, including the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, well, the thing is that York was the scary thing about this guy is he started off as a pacifist.
Yeah, he was,
He
if I
was
recall correctly, he was a conscientious objector and was a Quaker, right?
no, he was a recent convert because he was originally kind of a hellraiser until he got struck by lightning at one
Okay,
point.
this is even more badass now.
Yeah,
I don't
him and
remember
his
the
mule
lightning
got
part. I do remember reading about him in history class and stuff, but I didn't hear the lightning
yeah,
part.
yeah, he got struck by lightning on his way home, and he was on his way. Basically, he had, as I recall from the movie, he'd been raising money to buy some prime bottomland, which, if you anything about farming, bottomland is down near the river, so it's always, it's close to the water table. It's always the most fertile land,
Mm-hmm. And
and
it
he
only
had
gets
raised the
destroyed
money.
every time it floods.
Mm, depends on where it is. But it wasn't the spring. But anyways,
Mm-hmm.
so he raises the money through a sharpshooting competition to buy the land, which was like $20. But the guy he had originally arranged to sell it to basically backs out of the deal, sells it to someone else. And he's on his way basically to kill the guy and get struck by lightning. He's going, that's literally, may lightning strike me dead. Oh, okay. And he took that as a sign of, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. So he converts. Eventually, has to, kind of reconcile the need to fight, with his newfound Christian faith. And he kind of reconciles it through, the verse about give unto Caesar that which is Caesar, and unto God that which is God's. And so his duty to country was giving unto Caesar. But yeah, the guy was a good shot, and it reconstructs one of his most memorable. And I think I remember the most about this movie is that when he was gonna needed to make a particularly tough shot, he would basically lick his thumb and then run it along the side of the front sight, the front post on his rifle. And then he does that, and he's basically just shooting into a trench full of German soldiers that are trying to get to a machine gun, and just eventually makes them all surrender. And he does this with a bolt action rifle because the M1 had not been invented yet. So yeah, the man was a badass on several levels.
Yeah, I was just refreshing my memory on some of his exploits here, and the thing I remember most from reading about him
Mm-hmm.
growing up was how he famously took out a group of 17 German soldiers and didn't miss a single time, and he was instrumental in taking this machine gun position, and just the
Mm-hmm.
sheer insanity of him he was like a corporal at the time. He hadn't got his field promotion to sergeant yet.
Right.
But just him and a handful of troops, they wound up capturing 132 Germans. It was like less than
Mm-hmm.
20 guys captured 132 Germans, and it wasn't just
Right.
it wasn't just the numbers against numbers. It was like they were the guys in a machine gun nest. Like, it's one of the most crazy David and Goliath skirmishes you ever hear about.
Mm-hmm.
And then this part I didn't remember. Apparently, 6 German soldiers charged him with bayonets, and he drew his pistol and killed all of them. That's like out of some John Woo movie. It's friggin' crazy.
Right. Because back then, I don't know that they were using the 45. I think they were still using revolvers.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't specify here, but I know well, it's called the 1911 for a reason. That's when it became a
Mm-hmm.
thing. So it's
Right.
either one's possible, because there's officially when a firearm is adapted in the military, and then there's that like transitional period where like some people are still using the
Right.
older weapon. So it's unclear,
Right.
at least on this article, which pistol he was
Right.
using at the time.
And the thing I like about that too is the officer in charge basically draws his gun and shoots at York, empties the entire bag, and
Yeah.
misses every time.
That's
That's
like
just
that
like,
scene in Pulp Fiction. That dude rushes out. It's like, "Die, your mother!" Ah,
yeah,
doesn't hit
it's
a single
like,
time.
right? Or yeah, it's just like, you just like wonder. It's like there's that like armor of God thing going on. So,
Also, just
uh,
a classic example of picking your shots instead of just unloading your magazine.
yeah. Well, and the beauty of it is that the bottomland that he had wanted to buy when he came home after Armistice Day. A bunch of folks in Tennessee basically purchased a farm for him and his new wife, and basically just gave it to him. You know, because I mean, this dude just put Tennessee on the map. So,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
so yeah, and like I said, it was the film was the highest grossing film of 1941, won Gary Cooper Academy Award for Best Actor. And evidently, you know, it was a big morale boost for our boys overseas, you know, or at least for folks here. So yeah,
Yep.
and in York, I mean, York was a badass dude. I mean, he was, you know, because you got to think, you know, somebody opening fire with you, you know, you with a pistol and missing every time, you know, if you still got the stones to stand there and accept his surrender, I'm just like, I would be going, yeah, you know what, I surrender. You're just all of mad because I don't want to kill any. I don't want you to kill anyone. That's that's like God walking in with with a rifle. It's just him and Audie Murphy. You know, we had some really great really great. And Audie Murphy went on to be an actor too. Speaking of patriotic war films,
I thought, are we about out of things to say about this one? Because I got another thing I'd like to see if anyone else has seen.
Go for it.
all right, go for it.
Because I haven't honestly I haven't seen Sergeant York, so I kind of had to just kind of sit that one out.
Uh-huh.
But as you were talking about it, it reminded me about a person who had who sounded kind of similar except for all the killing, which was Desmond Doss, the subject of the film Hacksaw Ridge.
Ah, yes.
Who was a conscientious objector who enlisted as a pacifist, and became a corpsman, and saved the hell out of like pretty much his entire, like a very large amount of his unit during the Battle of Okinawa. Because he essentially just kept going out and carrying people out of the battlefield.
It's kind of
Right.
it's like a real life Forrest Gump situation where it's
Yeah.
like run in, get the guy, run out, run in, get the guy, run out.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know that's the thing about. I mean, you realize that most of the guys who are doing the bravest things are trying to save lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not just going in there to kill people. They're trying to save their friends' lives. And just as a side note, it's one thing that you'll notice, that I heard a long time ago, is you can tell the difference between like a British, a French, and an American soldier. Because French soldier will die for France, British soldier will die for the regiment, American soldier will die for his buddy. And I think that's the thing that makes that makes some of these movies so well. Audie Murphy was in a movie To Hell and Back. Speaking of, that was based on his exploits, which was kind of funny because he won every medal that we could, the United States could offer, and a few that
Audie Murphy as himself.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Look at the. I'm gonna Wikipedia pretty much everything, and I highly recommend people Wikipedia Audie Murphy just to look at the entire damn hardware store on his chest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you look at the picture on his chest, it's like it goes from his shoulder to almost to his navel, and you look at starts with the Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, and it's just like keep going, and some of them are foreign. Yeah, he won. Not only with the U.S., but with the French and I think the Belgian.
French and the Belgians, yes.
It's like God, and the kid came from a sharecropping family, and originally he's like Captain America because he kept getting 4F'd out by everybody until the army finally took him.
Yeah, you saw a lot of that in earlier conflicts. Like World War I, World War II, where you'd have a lot of young people and people that are like on the fence as far as like the physical requirements,
Hmm.
restrictions, or whatever, and they would just keep plugging away until somebody finally goes, "Oh, fine, get in there."
Yeah.
Like people are just that
Okay.
dedicated. They're
Like,
just they're just
you
willing
realize
Yeah.
the
to
reason
serve.
we keep saying no is because you're going to die, right?
Yeah. But then there's that one guy who's like, well, yeah, this is going to make things harder. But the funny thing about Audie Murphy is that most of his acting was done in westerns, and he was a good songwriter. He was a good singer. Man was very talented.
It was also in the Red Badge of Courage.
Great story too.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
so yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
go ahead.
when we settled on this topic, the actually the second movie that popped in my head. We're going to get to the first one here in a bit, but the second movie that popped into my head was The Longest Day, which is about the invasion of Normandy,
Hmm.
Right.
which admittedly was it was not just America, but it was it was the Allied forces, but
Right.
because it was made in Hollywood, it had a lot of Americans in it.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah,
almost like
you got the
America was
British
was
and
was
the
where
Canadians, I'm
was where
guessing.
it's almost like America was where the movie was made, so we focused on
Right.
our contribution.
Right.
Indeed.
You think? So.
And speaking of Normandy invasions, won't go on too long here since neither of you, for shame, have seen Saving Private Ryan yet. But that's another obvious one to pick here. A lot of the whole, Greatest Generation, Courage Under Fire, Sacrifice, Brotherhood, et cetera, all those,
Mhm.
all those tropes. Not to be, not mentioning those in a dismissive way, just to give you kind of an idea. It's
Mhm.
one of those things where it's hard to kind of a lot of movies are like this, of course. It's hard to just kind of sum up or encapsulate in a summary. You really do have to see it for yourself. And a lot of how impressive the filmmaking is and stuff, like it really holds up for a movie that came out in 1998. You
Mhm.
watch it today, and like a lot of the cinematography and the effects, the shots they get and everything, a lot of it is just very visceral and very well done, and like still just
Right.
it's one of those things that ages extremely well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's just solid all around. There's great acting and casting and direction and everything. It's just extremely good. One of those movies that definitely lives up to the hype. And I think part of it too was although it was a fictional story set within World War II, there is a lot of attention to detail with like historical accuracy and like practical ways that they made things look realistic and feel realistic. So a good
Mhm.
example of that is one of the most iconic scenes in the movie is the opening, just insane, brutal, heart-wrenching D-Day invasion.
I've
The
seen that
Normandy invasion.
scene.
Yeah, a lot of people have seen the scene and not seen the movie because it's just so like intense and iconic. But
Yeah, I
what
kind
they
of lost. I kind of lost my ability to keep watching when I saw the guy laying there with very realistic looking intestines outside of his own body.
Right, that's the thing too, is that like you have to be very tough to get through that to see the rest of the movie. And some people just, I don't blame them, like they just don't have the fortitude to go beyond that and watch someone, because it's brutal.
Yeah.
But part of what they did there was they would have these weights and things that they would put in the sacks so that it weighed the right amount and it would like kind of shift the right way and everything. So they got a lot of the like specific details down to make it really authentic and how people moved and how it was portrayed and everything. So I thought that was pretty cool. And of course, everybody knows Tom Hanks is like, Mr. World War II and is like crazy interested in all that stuff. And so he brought his,
Right.
his laser focus to that. And he was also involved in making the Band of Brothers series on HBO,
Right.
which I also highly recommend. It's really good. It's a 10-part
Excellent.
series.
That I have
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah,
So
it's extremely good.
So yeah, interesting bit of trivia about that. In a lot of the scenes where people, they would use real people who were real amputees for some of the soldiers, on that,
Yeah. Also, just a
which
funny
was
little aside to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. If anybody wants to see David Schwimmer as a drill sergeant, yeah, that's right, David Schwimmer. watch the first episode of Band of
Oh,
Brothers.
that's
Oh my
a-
gosh,
You know,
it's so funny.
it pays off well because Ross is horrible, and David Schwimmer's drill sergeant
Yeah,
like a very hateable, reprehensible
yeah.
person. So
He's a guy you love to hate. He's very much very much the stereotype of like green officers that don't know what the hell they're doing, that are commanding NCOs that are actually being the real leaders.
mm,
But I won't spoil anything. But let's just say that his, shall we say, his talents and proclivities are utilized in the best way possible, and leave it at that, and see how it goes. And
So
watch the series.
another war film that I want to bring up, starring oddly enough Mark Hamill, The Big Red One.
oh yeah, who all's here from the Big Red One? See, I have watched many a World War II movie from when I used to live with my grandfather, who watched them and westerns all the time because
Mhm.
he was a member of the Greatest Generation, and I don't know why he would want to relive the war, but he seemed to really like to watch movies about it. So,
Well, it's something that I've seen with a lot of my veteran friends.
mhm.
You know, it's not that they wanted to relive the war. That was a time when everything that they did meant something.
I can see that. Like
It was a time,
Yeah.
yeah.
it was a time when they're in their lives when they were doing something that they felt had meaning. Because you don't do something like that without finding something in it that is worthwhile. And I have several friends who are veterans, at least one or two of which one of my buddies actually works out with you, Mike. Both of you actually.
Mhm.
Is a combat veteran. And that's one of the things he told me about is like, I don't want to go back, but it's one of those things that was a time when what I was doing had meaning. But yeah, the Big Red One with Mark Hamill, 1980, with Lee Marvin, Mark Hamill, and some other kind of. Mark Hamill actually plays the kind of the POV character Griff, but Mark Hamill, Robert Carradine, and Siegfried Rausch, Bobby Chico, and Kelly Ward play basically the four horsemen. But yeah, and it was a book that I had read before I even saw the movie.
Yeah, a lot of these movies are also very much based off of books.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of that.
Although it looks
Yeah.
like actually the Big Red One was novelized, but actually was a movie first,
Ah,
Yeah, yeah,
which
I'm
is
sure the book.
interesting.
Yeah, because I remember reading the book. How he was talking about when they were making the movie, how things were different. So,
another one that I remember watching when I was in school. I don't remember the exact year, but I want to say around 8th grade or so, is Glory. And that is a great movie. And that's a different. We've been talking a lot about World War II stuff. That's another, and we got some World War I thrown in there, and obviously Revolutionary War, but that's another
right.
good example of, it had Matthew Broderick, Morgan Freeman, a lot of great actors, and it's just really well done. And it tells, the story of the first all black military unit fighting for the Union. It's a combination of freedmen and runaway slaves and the like. And it was pretty interesting seeing that whole journey of the groundwork that that led up to it, and then the unit sorting itself out and everything, as far as like how people would get along in it and all the strife and everything as they tried, because it's something that had never been done before. And
Yeah.
and of course, obviously
It was actually the Union Army's second African American regiment. Actually, sorry. So it had
was
technically
it,
been done a little bit before, but not much.
what was it?
Yeah.
I thought there was some significance to the there was some first there, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that was the first one. Was the first one completely? Was it completely black unit?
Maybe. Here's the thing: it's not really. All it's saying is it's the second African American regiment. It's not saying why we're talking about the second one as opposed to the first one
Or
in the
yeah.
Wikipedia article.
Huh.
So
Mhm.
having not seen the movie, I don't know. Although it has a bunch of actors whose work I like. It's got Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington, Cary Elwes, Morgan Freeman.
Yep. Yeah.
These
It's
are
an
names.
amazing
These are
cast.
all names that I like. I even like. I don't know why people like bag on Matthew Broderick. I think he's a fine actor. I think he picks bad scripts a lot, but I think he's a fine actor.
Inspector
Right.
Gadget, anyone?
Yeah.
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 Actually, Inspector Gadget at the very least has a really just great little back and forth at one point where Claw's talking to Gadget and Claw says "comprende" and Gadget says "yeah, I comprende," and the movie completely derails for a second and says where Claw says "no, comprendo." I comprend it. You have to decline the like. It completely. He goes off on not getting the proper declension of the
Of the verb.
yeah.
A funny
Things you
hill to
don't
die
run
on, so
into
to
in,
speak.
right. Things you totally don't get in English.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
and as bad a movie as that was, that is a scene that will always draw a chuckle out of me, just because it's so completely it's so completely just out of left field. Because it's this whole grand master evil plan. Stop for a brief lesson in Spanish grammar.
Right.
Well, and the thing is the thing that it does in a subtle way is delineates basically not delineates, shows the difference between Claw and Gadget.
All right, save it for our
Now,
Inspector Gadget episode.
right? Well, just that he's so much smarter. But anyways,
Do an Inspector Gadget episode. I think I'm going to put that on the list.
yeah, something it had like 2 seasons. So, all right, are we up to invasion films?
To what? I'm sorry.
One of my personal favorite patriotic films.
The big one.
Welcome to Earth.
Yeah, Welcome to
Oh,
Earth.
Welcome to Earth.
Which is, I think, the penultimate. I personally think is the penultimate, patriotic film.
I can think of one more that should at least get passing mention before we get to our climax, as it were. But yeah, let's
Okay.
talk about Independence Day.
Okay.
I like Independence Day. I don't know why people bag on Independence Day, but people bag on Independence Day.
It's an enjoyable movie, like
Yeah.
like the delineation you make. It's a popcorn munching, watch shit blow up, punching aliens. It's got everything that a war movie has to have. It's got an opening action sequence. It's got an invasion. It's got the comeback from behind. It's punching aliens, smoking cigars. Booze, guns,
And the
flying
hacker
into
uses
battle.
a Mac.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jeff Goldblum
Uses a Mac.
with a fucking
Right?
Mac. It's
Well,
like,
who
Right.
knew? I mean, it explains so much. Steve Jobs was an alien. That's why the Mac OS and the Alien OS were capable of interfacing at all.
Right. Well, and the funny thing is, though, it kind of explains that in a subtle way early on when
Mhm.
he talks about their systems were talking to ours.
Yeah. Well,
They had,
my theory there is that since the Roswell landing was real, a lot of modern computer technology is actually based off of
Built.
alien tech, and that's why we were able to do it. But it's
Right.
never really fully explored or explained at all.
Right. No, it's just the Mac becomes the MacGuffin that defeats the bad guys.
indeed.
Here, I'll give them a computer virus because I am that good at programming. I'll give them a computer virus that brings down their energy shields.
Right. Well, I mean, think about it. Look at the parallel between that and War of the Worlds.
Yeah, definitely some parallels
Brought
there,
low
no
by
doubt.
a virus. Just one was digital, the other was, microbial.
I always thought it was kind of weird that. Oh well, no, I'm thinking of Signs. That's a different thing entirely. But I thought that was really dumb with Signs. It was like, oh my gosh, water, and it's like, bitch, this planet is mostly water. What are you doing?
70%.
Right.
Our surface
Like,
is
it's gonna be the
70%
dumbest
covered
aliens
in
of all
water.
time. Yeah.
Maybe
Right.
salt water
I mean,
doesn't
if you were
bother
gonna,
me.
right, if you were going to come
Yeah.
here for one particular resource that we just have laying around, that's the one. It's like, oh, let's go invade that planet that's mostly acid.
Oh,
You know?
another thing just to kind of mention, as I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, but we talked about how a lot of these are war movies. Another common genre within the patriotic umbrella is space movies, like Apollo 13, The Right Stuff.
Mhm.
You know, obviously you have the whole space race and just general,
Hmm.
Space
pioneer
cowboys.
spirit and everything. Yeah,
We
that's
gotta
very
we gotta
American
beat the
stuff.
Russians.
Right? Well, and then of course the most recent one, numbers,
I mean, Hidden Figures.
hidden figures. Yes, numbers, hidden figures. Yes, hidden
Yeah.
figures. Sorry, had those next. Yeah, but hidden figures. Yeah, I
I
mean
didn't
we'll
get a
talk
chance
about.
to see that in theaters, and I haven't gotten a chance to stream it yet either. But definitely
Yeah.
wanted to, because like it talks about something that rarely gets talked about when people talk about going to space, which
Hmm.
is the obscene amounts of math and engineering that goes into it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it
Oh
talk
yeah.
and it highlights the criminally underrepresentation of the fact that it was a bunch of black women who did it.
Yeah,
That just
with like slide rules.
yeah, that no one seems to really mention, even though like everyone's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, NASA. No, like keep in mind this wasn't just NASA. This was a bunch of women who couldn't get jobs anywhere else because of their skin color.
Right. And then, but yeah, and then, you know, because when we think of NASA, I mean, we tend to think of crew cut guys with glasses and ties.
And pocket
And
protectors.
yeah, but the, you know, exactly. So yeah, I mean, this was a, you know, this is a, I mean, that is to me one of the most patriotic things of all is, you know, is the hidden side of American history. You know, the good hidden side, because there's a lot of crap that's hidden, but still, you know, you know, that we have these people who we, you know, who we are now starting to honor. You know.
Oh, you talk about having to beat the Russians. So a couple other good shout outs here that fall under that. Miracle, the 1980 Olympics, the big
Yeah,
Mm.
about the
showdown between
Miracle
the
on Ice.
American and the Soviet, Soviet
I,
hockey teams. That's an
I'm
interesting
I'm
story.
always I've been a sucker for underdog sports movies for as long as I can remember, going back to like the Mighty Ducks and the Bad News Bears.
Yep.
So Miracle
Yeah.
really does like works for me.
Yeah, because it's an
Right.
actual like real thing
Yeah,
that
like
actually
Right.
happened.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. So let me ask this. Just you know, we're talking about you know patriotic movies and things like that. Has anybody thought about one that starred Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey?
Wait, what now?
No.
And I'm not talking Dirty Dancing. I'm talking Red Dawn.
Oh, right, Red Dawn.
I mean,
Yes. I try to forget about Red Dawn, but it
I
definitely did exist.
I actually do actually enjoy that movie. I think, yeah, I mean, some of it, of course, is very over the top, and
well, look at
of
when it
course,
was made.
but there's some oddly deep and poignant stuff in there. A lot of people just focus
Yes.
on how over the top it is, and of course, the premise, because it's like, oh, a bunch of scrappy youths in like Michigan are
Hmm.
the ones that are getting having the Soviets parachute in on and stuff. But yeah, there's like some oddly like deep stuff going on there if you actually watch it to the end, like especially towards the end. I remember there's this scene where there's like one of the spoiler alert, anyone who hasn't seen it, skip forward about 30 seconds here, but one of the main characters dies, and his brother's like carrying him off to like bury him, and
Yeah,
then
that is
he
the
comes
end.
yeah, that's the very end. Like, and he comes across this one of the invaders. I don't remember if he was actually like a Russian Soviet or if he was like one of the ancillary countries that
Hmm.
were part of the Union. Because I think they had like some South American countries under their heel that helped participate in the invasion. But one of the big
Hmm. One of the
officers
big
or
people
whatever
they've
on the
been
other side.
fighting.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
kind of have this moment where they look at each other and they're just like human beings, and it's like they just don't give a fuck anymore after all the shit they've seen.
Right.
And he just lets
Yeah, he
them
just
go
kind of
by
steps
to bury his
aside.
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a really cool moment. And I feel that
Yeah.
there's a few scenes like that throughout the movie that are actually like really serious and well done, but it gets lost in the mix of ooh Wolverines and ooh Red Dawn and kill the cat, and like everyone just
Right.
focusing on the cartoonish aspects of it. But there's actually some pretty interesting
Yeah.
stuff in that movie.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and yeah, I think it's Powers Booth that plays the Air Force pilot that
Oh
parachutes
God,
in
yeah,
behind
that
him.
was such a great bit. Oh yeah, Powers, man, fucking Powers Booth. That guy is great. He so often plays a villain that is fun
Hmm.
to see him do that role. Like he's the
Yeah,
terrible guy in Deadwood, and he's the terrible guy in about 20 other things. When you look him up on IMDb, he's just terrible guy as his credit in half of his movies.
right. But yeah, that one was good because he ends up dying trying to, end up taking out one of the T-62 tanks that was, causing problems.
Oh yeah, yeah, he had a big, go out with gusto moment. It was really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that was an enjoyable movie, especially for the '80s when it came out.
Oh, also speaking of that era, Top Gun. Who can forget that? Speaking of over
Oh
the
God,
top '80s,
yes,
I've actually never
yes.
seen Top Gun either.
Oh God, it is. Oh man. Okay, so if you go and watch Top Gun, you're gonna want to leave and immediately go get a steak, drink some bourbon, and and leer to just it is all about. I mean, it was the Navy's top recruiting tool in the '80s. This is right around the time I was joining the Air Force too.
Indeed.
So yeah.
Oh,
So what's
another.
Mhm.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to jump over you there. But
Go
another thing I
ahead,
just
Ben.
wanted to do
Yep.
a
So one of
passing
you.
mention on, because a lot of these are still within the context of military stuff. United '93 was a really good movie. That tells the tale of the flight that went down on
Mm,
9/11, and
okay.
the people retook it, and it crashed, but they kept it from being used as a weapon.
Right.
And that was the whole "let's roll" thing that people may remember. That
Mhm.
quote from the
Right.
guy who had his last moments, recorded as he was communicating.
With
That's
his
just one of
wife.
those things where it's just average people that are just stuck in
Hmm.
a extraordinary situation. And of course, the
Right.
fact that they're not all like in uniform or whatever. They're just random people thrown together and
Right.
did
Mhm.
something that'll be that made history. So I think that was a
Right.
really cool homage that they did there.
Right.
There,
So another one.
there are two movies that would need to be mentioned here. One is still our big our big one we'll get to here at the end, but one that is oddly patriotic, even though it's patriotic for an America that no longer exists.
Mhm.
That we mentioned last night when recording wasn't possible due to technical difficulties. Is Kevin Costner's 3-hour movie, the Postman.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Ah,
because
yes.
he essentially rebuilds America through putting together a postal service.
Right. Or at least it rebuilds Washington State.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it is I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It's true to the spirit of patriotism. This is an ideal that's worth fighting for. Um, yeah, it
So
is a
long.
it is a long movie. It was made in his era when he basically was playing the character with no name.
Yeah. It's 2 hours and 57 minutes long.
Right.
Um,
Which
and
and
like
it's
I have difficulty sitting through the Lord of the Rings movies. And
right.
like I enjoy and here's the thing, they are things that I would actively enjoy. Like
Hmm.
The Postman has the thing that stops it from being probably even actually a good movie, not just an enjoyable movie,
Hmm.
is that they needed to cut about 35 minutes out of the runtime.
Yeah, yeah.
And
There's
they
lots
could
of
have.
long.
There's a lot of times where there you get like long walking travel shots, and yes, they're beautiful. That's something that can be said about most shots in the movie. It's very well shot,
Hmm.
but
That's funny
But
because
they
you
are
can you can say that about Lord of the Rings too. There's so many just wide shots of them walking.
mhm,
right. Well, I've got to
With
remember that
triumphant
most of the
music
time
playing.
in the Lord of the Rings was spent walking. I mean, they were
yeah.
they were a
Right.
year on the road.
And
But
even
yeah,
then,
there's
the travel shots aren't nearly as long and kind of plotting in
right,
LOTR as they are in the Postman.
right. I mean,
There you
they
go.
spend 20 minutes at that cabin in the woods, and then it's like, my God, we're not doing this in real time. Come on.
Yeah,
So,
it was
but yeah.
fun. Like it was worth. Like
Mhm.
I would say it's probably worth watching, if you can watch it on something with an arrow key that lets you skip forward 5 seconds every now and again.
Right. So 2 honorable mentions I want to throw out there.
Sure.
Oddly enough, Forrest Gump, which is the story of America, you know, in the 60s, 70s. I mean, you know, he does everything. I mean, it's granted, it's kind of a Mary Sue or Marty Stew, but it is very American. It is, you know, all the things, you know,
Yeah.
rushing into battle, but also it is bringing things back, talking, you know, jogging, all the things that are American. But also, oddly enough, I'm not a big fan of Tom Cruise as a human being, but Born on the 4th of July, which will always have a place in my heart because it's a veteran story, and there's little crickets going on here.
I've heard of the movie, or at least I assume I've heard of the movie. I've heard the lyric in the nearly unknown verse to Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yeah.
No one knows the verses to this. It's an actual song. It's not just a chorus.
Right. Yeah. Let's see here. I was trying to look
I guess
this
actually
one
the
up.
song is Yankee Doodle, but still.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see here. Film. There we go. It's an '89 film. It's an Oliver Stone film. It's based on the autobiography of Ron Kovic. You know, and his basically going from being a soldier to being an anti-war activist, which, you know, you see a lot sometimes in soldiers. You know, is going, you know, becoming, you know, coming out against war because, hey, we've seen it.
War is hell, as they say.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always the question of wisdom and necessity of the conflict, not necessarily, you know, because like everybody is against war in the sense that war is hell, and no, you know,
Right.
if you revel in war, then you're an idiot and bloodthirsty. But yeah.
And I should actually briefly mention a brief retraction. The initial song "Yankee Doodle" is super old and does not bear the verse "I was born on the 4th of July." The song "The Yankee Doodle Boy," which is also known as "I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy," which was written and released in 1904, is the one that has "I was born on the 4th of July." So. Sorry, I feel like I should try to be accurate when I can.
Yeah, there's a lot of permutations of that, so understandable.
Right. Of course, I mean, we're also forgetting Patton.
Yeah, we don't really have time to do that justice, though. I have a feeling we'll do a similar.
We could do an episode on Patton.
Yeah,
we could.
Yeah, we absolutely could. And my one thing I will say briefly on that is also a very long movie, but doesn't feel as long.
It doesn't feel nearly as long. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, pacing is excellent in that movie.
Yep.
So, and George C. Scott. George C. fucking Scott.
George C. Scott. Yes. We'll get to that maybe next year around this time.
Right. So
the movie that we have been teasing, which was the first movie that jumped into my head when someone talked about, let's talk about patriotic America movies, is a movie starring an Australian man.
Mad Max. No, wait.
right, Australian man. Wrong movie. But no, this would be The Patriot, starring Mel Gibson. Back when
a young Heath Ledger.
I
remember it has the guy who played Odo in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, Heath Ledger plays Gabriel, Mel Gibson's eldest son. He was one of the other main roles in the movie.
You are correct. I remember that.
And he dies.
Spoiler alert. But yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think he died.
I
thought he was the one that survived.
He survived up to a point and then tragically got killed.
Right.
There's early on, there's a close call situation, like he's about to get hung as a traitor and then they save him, but then later on he gets stabbed by that wily Brit and is mortally wounded.
So, hey. Yeah. The second movie by Roland Emmerich we've talked about so far.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Independence Day, you know, we're talking about that, and it's the same director. But I mean, it makes sense because I mean, the Patriot's a great movie, but it's not. It's you know, there's a lot of you have like fictional characters with like amalgams, composites of historical figures and stuff. It's a lot of like just kind of I don't know, style as opposed to substance, you know. So yeah, you got to know what you're getting into. Like, it's not gonna, if you're looking for something historically accurate or more cerebral, this is not the movie for you. It is a great movie, but that's not really what it's about. More of a personal story
Yeah.
anyway, with all the family stuff going on, the local militia
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, and in the end, I mean, his wife dies, and then he ends up remarrying and having more kids. But yeah, it is kind of like basically it's a travel log of the Revolutionary War.
Well, his
Should be pointed out that it's massive, like everything else, like other movies that Roland Emmerich has made, bears very little relation to actual reality.
Right.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
good movie, but it's not historically accurate in the
Right.
damn least.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's his whole his tragedies and triumphs are kind of a microcosm of the the colonies becoming America. Really, not a terribly subtle
Yeah.
parallel, but it's there nonetheless.
Yeah.
I was looking over some of the info on it, and I thought it was interesting. They were talking about the casting, and they said that Heath Ledger. They had it narrowed down to Ryan. Is it? I always forget is it Felipe? How is that how you pronounce it? I always mess up his last name.
Ryan
And
Felipe,
Heath
yeah.
Ledger. Yeah, they were the last two, and it says with the latter chosen because the director thought he possessed exuberant youth. That amused me for some reason. I was like, yes, he was a rather exuberant youth.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Elijah Wood was also considered. Jake Gyllenhaal was also considered to play him. Harrison Ford was offered the role of Benjamin Martin and turned it down. He didn't really like the script. So that's kind of an interesting factoid as well.
Man, that movie would have been so different with Ford in that role.
Yeah, there's a lot of those what ifs that I would love to see happen. They're just interesting thought experiments. But
Right.
yeah, like we said, just really enjoyable movie. Not historically accurate at all, but
Right.
Emmerich, what do you expect? Punch alien in the face.
It was, but the spoiler of the week is literally actually just a line from this movie. Mel Gibson and I can't remember who, some other guy are talking about, hey, we captured this wagon. It had documents, money, wine, and dogs, and he was like, well, I say we burn the wagon, eat the dogs, and leave. And Odo said, eat the dogs? To which Mel responds to him, oh yes, dog is a fine meal.
And I think the upshot of it is that there were two Great Danes that were the British colonel's personal dogs.
Yes, they were, and it should also be pointed out that they don't end up eating the dogs, and in fact, the dogs defect to the
The American
to
side.
the American side.
Well, the
There
Danes
goes
and the
the
British
royal
must not have gotten
stereotype.
along. Well, I mean, if you're a real American, you could posit that the Brits weren't real men and dogs are man's best friend. So, oh, that was terrible, terrible, terrible.
It really was. I think you should probably just go ahead and stop forever now. I don't know.
Well, I can get away with it. I'm old. Obligatory Venice old joke.
How we finally got there. So what was it like fighting in the Revolutionary War, Ben?
Well, the airports, the Battle of Bowling Green. We took that airport, man. It was, some tough fighting. Oh, God, I'm terrible.
Yeah, you are, but that's why we love you.
Yeah. So, yeah. The Patriot was definitely a flag waver of a movie, man. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes literally.
Yeah, I mean the last fight at the end, he literally picks it up and runs through it. It's just like, oh my God.
Also, the man can use a tomahawk.
Yep.
Can. Oh God.
Which I've been thinking a little bit here, and it's like we're talking about American patriotism, and we're definitely not mentioning the whole like Native Americans were here first thing.
Yeah, because this is a different kind of holiday. But by the same token, a lot of what kept us alive was, learning the tomahawk. I mean, they address it in the movie is, the Cherokee were their allies, and bad things happened to them.
Yeah,
Well,
we really
there's not a monolithic Native
Yeah.
American. There's a bunch of different tribes that were very different from
Exactly.
one another, and the
Yeah.
relations between them and
Yeah. Oh, it was an
colonials were
entire.
very different.
Yeah, but
And
in
amongst each
general,
other.
the Europeans really done screwed over the native population when they came here, and it's
Yeah.
good to and it is good to remain thoughtful of that fact.
Yeah. So yeah, if you ever get a chance, the Cherokee Heritage Center in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, is a very enlightening visit. Because if nothing else, you can actually hear Cherokee spoken. It is a beautiful language. They have an actual Cherokee village from where they were in South Carolina. I go here because my mom is on the rolls of the Cherokee Nation. So.
Very cool.
And I'm sure that there are, and to do an exhaustive study of every one of the indigenous peoples, every one of the nations that was here first, that's a lifetime's work
Yeah.
for each one.
Another interesting little factoid. It had been so long since I watched this. Apparently, Adam Baldwin played Captain James Wilkin, loyalist colonial dude. And yeah, I just completely forgot he was in this.
Yeah.
I should really. It's on Netflix. I should really just go ahead and rewatch it.
Right. Of course, Baldwin was in a lot of patriotic movies. Oh, and the one we forgot we mentioned last night, Get Off My Plane.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Yeah, we didn't mention
Speaking
a
of Harrison
movie.
Ford.
Yeah, like a movie that was all about raw America.
Right.
Which which was Air Force One and the President of the United States, as portrayed by Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Which is like what would happen if Jack Ryan got elected to
well, for that matter, shoot, we didn't mention like all of the Tom Clancy film adaptations.
Yeah, we could do a Tom Clancy episode.
Yeah, looks like I'm gonna have to just
put
put Tom Clancy on the list because
right. Well, we've got Memorial Day coming up. I mean, we have other patriotic, America themed, holidays coming up. We can kind of put into that too.
Indeed.
Because I mean, Patton, its own episode.
Yeah. I've got it on the list.
All right.
I can't.
It's
although
on
I've got
the list.
I've got to briefly mention just because I'm thinking about it, and it's another one of my favorite just individual scenes in most movies. The sniper scene from Clear and Present Danger.
Because such is a sneaky bastard, sir.
Yeah, well, no,
a sneaky bastard, sir.
Yeah, a sniper is doing training and taking out targets, and they call an all clear, and the sniper stands up like 20 feet from them, and they said, "Jesus Christ, son, how'd you get there?" And the sniper responds, "Sniper approached the target by being a sneaky bastard, sir."
And I like that character because he ends up being instrumental later on.
Yeah.
Wait, was that I don't remember if that was the same guy or not. Was that Clark? Was that Willem Dafoe's character?
No.
No, I think it was John Leguizamo.
Willem Dafoe was auditioning him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was
right.
Give me a second here. Who was the
Hang on, I'm looking for cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, movie's 94. It's been a minute.
Right. Miguel Sandoval. Let's see here.
Chavez was the sniper.
Okay, that's Raymond Cruz.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Raymond Cruz. Who went on to be the closer in Major Crimes.
It's one of my favorite. Like it is one of those lines that's right up there with me, along with "We Are Bad Men" and "For the Money."
Who are you? Why are you doing this?
Bad Men and For the Money, which is so just it's one of my favorite little just bits of writing in all of movies because it's succinct and brilliant.
Well, my other favorite from that same movie, I think, is it's like, what if I find smugglers? What if I do not want to smuggler's life? Then I'll have to slit your throat, and we'll be two men short. Like, well then.
I find that smuggling is the life for me, and I would be glad to kill your friend the worm.
which is just like this beautiful banner back and forth between the two of them. You know?
Very well written movie.
Oh yeah, now we're gonna go watch that.
Yep.
All right.
We're pretty much at time here. So, any final thoughts or anything, gentlemen?
We
Happy
have a
4th of
violent
July.
past. Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
very violent past.
well, I mean, historically, I believe America has been at war more years than it has been at peace
Yeah.
over the course of its life.
Yeah, over the course of its history.
Yeah,
You know,
It's
and the
also had
thing
a
is that
relatively short history compared to a lot of other countries.
it's
So
true. I mean,
also
yeah,
true. With 200, we're coming up on 250 years, 245 years right now.
um,
239 right now, if I'm doing the math right. But
our
yeah,
our bisesquicentennials in 6 years.
so that is 250.
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, we're at 239.
it's in
We're at
26.
240. Yeah, so 200.
Yeah, we're at
Never mind.
244 at the moment.
244. So yeah, and well, I can't math, but you got to get
I
my
have a
average out
calculator in front of me, so that's the only reason I can seem like I can.
there. But yeah, I mean, we've had a very violent history, but most, I think there's a lot that we've done on the other side. Space program. I mean, that's about
Mhm.
as American as it gets. The right stuff, I think, is a big one. That
another thing to keep in mind is a lot of the conflict, a lot of the war. It was the catalyst before an important change happened. I mean, obviously, the Revolutionary War itself helped create the country and let the ideals of liberty be a thing to begin with, and as much as much war as you've seen in American history. I think a lot of times people are, including Americans themselves, are too quick to dog on, oh, we're all was bloody and violent culture, blah blah blah. The thing you have to remember in the greater historical context is this is really the first time that you've had a superpower of ideas and a supposed empire of ideas and commerce, and like the ideas that we have ideals of liberty and
well, and I
coexistence
think
and freedom. And like the thing is, you have to remember, like World War II, when we won, we didn't just take Germany, we didn't just take Japan, we didn't just take Italy. Throughout the course
we
of human
rebuilt them.
history, that's how war worked. You won, and then to the victor goes the spoils.
Right.
Now, granted, in the early days, you have the whole expansion and stuff, and America, the whole Manifest Destiny and all that stuff. But you're talking about modern American history. It's
Right.
very. I don't think you get enough America doesn't get enough credit for the fact that it doesn't just go, well, we won, so we're gonna keep all your shit now, and it's ours.
Right.
Like it hasn't been a conquering force, I would argue. Like you said, we spent all this time and money and effort and everything rebuilding our enemies and turning them into allies. We are now allies with the UK, with Germany, with Italy, so many countries.
Nearly everyone we've everyone we've ever fought a war with.
Right,
That's
right.
pretty much the entire Middle East.
Yeah, well, we're working on that. But another thing, you bring up, Mike, is that incredible diversity. The thing that made us, so powerful is our intense diversity. When we needed a code that that nobody could break, we went to the code talkers, man. We went to our to people who we invited German scientists over who were fleeing Germany.
Right.
We didn't I mean, granted, we have a lot of attitudes of them darn foreigners, but when it comes down to it, when push comes to shove, as a nation, one of the things that we have learned how to do is adapt, use and bring that diversity and make it the strength that that has made us a world power. Is pull, even if we were shitty to people at one point, when at a certain point we're going, hey, you know what, this is a thing. We're the mutts of of the world right now, because we have so many cultures. We're the great melting pot. So yeah, if we need something, we're gonna put together, Russian ruggedness with German, precision, and
Right.
and we're
Yeah,
gonna
it should
we're
be,
gonna
meritocracy. It doesn't matter where the idea or skill comes from. It's the fact that it's the one that works the best. It's about the idea, not the.
exactly.
That's the thing is there's so many countries over the course of human history where it's just like, okay, well, I'm part of this tribe, or my skin is this color, or I have this heritage, or whatever it is. Like, oh, I have this
Hmm.
royal decree to rule this place, or whatever. Like,
Exactly.
America is unique in that it rejects all of that, and that's something that bears mentioning is that George Washington had the
Hmm.
opportunity to essentially just become another monarch, and he was like, that's like the ultimate temptation. They were like, oh my gosh, George Washington, we worship the ground you walk on. You're a war hero and the best ever at everything, and he rejected it and walked away
Yep.
from
They literally
Yeah.
tried to crown him king.
which is like the ultimate in irony. Like that's embarrassing. That's an embarrassing part of American history that after all that happened, people were still just like, yeah, yo, could you be our king now? And I'm like, he's like, have you been
Yeah, it's
paying
what
any
people were
attention this
used
whole time?
right. Yeah, and that's what people were
Seriously.
used to. And he was like, did we just not? Yeah. And that's the thing is we don't have so much. I mean, in a certain way, we have bloodlines, when you get up to like the Boston Brahmins and things like that, but we don't have, a royalty. We, like I said, we are the mutts of the world because we took, Quakers and, criminals and whatnot. The only country that's nearly as weird as we are is Australia. So
Which was founded by the UK trying to get rid of its prisoners.
exactly, it's like, yeah, let's kick all our prisoners, all our unwanted people, because
They're probably like,
look
look
how
at
well it
the
worked out.
wildlife. Look at how dangerous wildlife is. They won't last 5 minutes out there.
Right, exactly. Because you'd think they would have learned their lesson with the colonies. you know,
In reaction to what you've been saying, Ben, I am reminded of the following passage. Keep
okay.
ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Yeah, the poem on at the Statue of Liberty.
On the Statue of Liberty's, that's technically the second stanza of the thing because there's actually a bit just describing, hey, it's a big ass statue.
Yeah, not as poetic. Yeah.
No, like it's,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Here she
To quote
stands,
the
majestic.
great
Yeah.
line from Deuce Bigalow, "That's a huge bitch."
but yes, that is something that does make America great.
Hmm.
At the risk of at the risk of copyright of trademark violation.
No, it's you left that you got left that fourth word off of it. I think you're safe.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Happy 4th of
final.
July to
Yeah, happy
everyone.
Independence Day.
Happy
Yeah.
Independence Day,
Yes. Try not to blow your hands off.
please. Yeah,
Fireworks.
Yep.
try not to.
Celebrate responsibly.
Yes.
Right. Try
Don't
not
be.
to.
Yeah. Don't don't be like my uncle who has a massive burn scar on his arm from when he was shooting Roman candles out of his hand. Don't hold Roman candles while they're firing.
Which yes, so many people do. Yeah.
Don't be like I was, where I nearly died about 5 years ago, because a mortar misfired and exploded at ground level, and I had like 3 more mortars in a pocket. Like you can't really plan for that, but my pants got singed, but on the other pocket side. So like if it had just been facing the other direction, I would have at the very least no longer had a lower half.
Yeah.
So please be safe, everyone.
When in doubt, read
Right.
instructions and look up the safety tips for that. Kind of
Don't
stuff.
look down the mortar tube like an idiot
Hmm.
ever.
Right.
Do
Oh,
not
gosh.
do not ever gaze at the business end of a firework. They
Yeah,
are
it's like
Yeah.
they literally are bombs. They're just pretty
Right.
bombs.
Yeah.
yeah,
Fireworks are made to do
exactly.
one thing: blow up and look pretty doing it.
We will talk to you again in a couple weeks. This has been Neil,
The one true Ben.
and
Mike.
we will talk to you next time on Geek Fanthology.
Go home, Craig.
This podcast is a production of Working Theory Productions. It was brought to you by the letter sigma and the number of the sum of all the following numbers in the equation. Opening theme is Ultra Mega Hyperstorm and ending theme is March of the Mind, both by Kevin MacLeod. If you enjoyed this podcast or know someone who would, please consider sharing it on your social media, sending us an email, leaving us a comment, liking, subscribing, following, etc., all those things that help build the algorithm and make us easier to discover. If you really enjoyed this podcast, please consider supporting us either by making a one-time donation on our website, www.workingtheoryproductions.com, or a reoccurring one on Patreon at patreon.com/workingtheory. A final thought. This episode was delayed by health problems. I'm better now, but things were a little bit touch and go this last week. Sorry about that, everyone.